Hi, friends! Join us as we dive into the themes, metaphors, and foreshadowing of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. With both a spoiler and spoiler free analysis, there's something here for everyone. We are your hosts, Leah,
Sarah, Tabby,
and whether you're a new viewer or a longtime fan, welcome to Becoming Buffy.
Hey guys, welcome back to Becoming Buffy. This is probably one of my favorite episodes to record every single year because we have my friend Liz here with us. Hi, Liz.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have not been here before, every year we do an interview with Liz because this is her first time watching through Buffy the series, and she's kind of watching roughly in time with us. And so she hasn't seen anything past season 3. And so at the end of each season, we thought it'd be really fun to interview her and hear her thoughts and just kind of see what she thinks of the show as a first-time viewer. Because for those of us who've watched this billions of times, it's easy for us to see where it's going because we've been here before, kind of like connect dots to later seasons. But I think sometimes we forget what it's like and what's kind of going through our head as a first-time viewer. So it's just always fun to hear your perspective, Liz.
It's always fun to have these conversations with you and knowing that you know what's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think you're just incredibly intuitive. And as someone who loves media, loves stories, you're just really good at being able to kind of like dig a little bit deeper under the surface. So I always learn a lot when talking to you.
Thank you so much.
All right. So I'm going to read your predictions from last season and we'll kind of jump into it.
I'm so excited.
So your predictions, most of them were actually pretty accurate. So
wow. Okay.
You predicted Angel was going to come back. Obviously, you know he has his own show. You can see, like, watching season 3, you see where it's headed. You thought that Angel would not come back till the middle to the end of the season, though. Which
yes,
he comes back, I think, like the 3rd or 4th episode. So it's a lot sooner than you anticipated. You anticipated that Buffy was going to have a longer healing process as opposed to season 2, where it was just one episode. And I mean, I feel like all of season 3 was pretty much Buffy healing with some exceptions.
Totally.
You predicted that Cordelia and Xander and Oz and Willow would last for a while, and you got that half right.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts on that in just a minute.
I'm excited to tell you what I think about that.
Good. And then you hoped that we would go deeper with Cordelia, which again, excited to hear your thoughts on that because I feel like that's a mixed bag.
Yes.
You thought that Willow would take on more of a leadership role. You thought that Buffy would be more grounded with her identity because now that she's embraced being a Slayer, you weren't sure how she was going to be after the events of last season and where they were going to take her character in this season. But you guessed that they would, she would kind of be owning her role as a Slayer and kind of finding her own path. And you wanted Giles to find some happiness.
Oh, Giles.
Poor
Giles. We just keep putting him through it.
I know. We really do. And then Joss Whedon.
I know.
And then you thought the theme of season 3 would be Buffy making her role as a Slayer her own and that she would try to separate her identity out from Angel a bit more. Okay, so your thoughts on your predictions. How do you think you did?
Yeah, so I'm kind of pleased to see that a lot of them were kind of on track. I think I have 2 huge disappointments that really tick me off. And one of them is, but it's interesting and I feel like there's room going forward, so I'm excited where it's going to go. But my first disappointment is Cordelia.
Yeah.
And my heart broke for her, and I loved the episode after she basically found him cheating on her. I loved that it showed kind of the pain behind what she was doing, because I feel like we saw a lot of growth in her. And then when she was hurt, she reverted back to her old ways, which I still think is just a defense mechanism for her pain. But that was really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I'm still pretty mad at Xander. I'm like, really? Like, if you and Willow were going to make something of it, make something of it.
Right.
Which is for, a couple makeout sessions, not worth it. So that was frustrating. So I'm glad to see her come back at the end as more of like part of their group. And I feel like going forward, it's going to be exciting to see like what her role is and how she takes that on. But that really frustrated me. And then my other big frustration is, I forget his name, but he bugs me. The new Watcher.
Oh, Wesley.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, first of all, and then their whole thing, I was like, really? First of all, this is super creepy.
Yes.
He's a grown man. She's in high school.
Right.
This is very creepy. But I also feel like that was a very 1999 storyline.
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately. So that really ticked me off. And then also, he's just so ick that I'm like, really? Like, really, Cordy?
Yeah.
No. So yeah. So that whole storyline made me sad. But I'm glad to see he's moving on in the world. I think that's where he needs to go, is goodbye. So I'm glad to see that. But yeah, I liked seeing, I thought the Xander Willow thing was interesting, but it frustrated me that it basically was like, we're just gonna like go behind everybody's back and screw things up. That was really sad. But I was glad to see that Willow was able to fix it in her relationship.
Yeah.
So,
Oz, man. We love Oz, and the one flaw that Oz has is he doesn't have any flaws. He's not super interesting of a character, but man, they just wrote the archetype of the perfect boyfriend in him.
It's funny because there's one line that he said that I'll have to like tell you how much it bugged me the whole season.
Okay.
But it's like the only time I can think of anything Oz doing being the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Even like when he thinks he ate a person, he didn't. So
exactly. I know. Yeah. They kind of, I feel like they pulled their punches a little bit with Oz, but you know, it is what it is. I think I would be super sad if like he ended up turning out to be incredibly flawed. I'd be like, Oz, no.
Yeah. And I think Willow has been through so much that I'd like to see her getting good things happening for her, because like she was into Xander forever and he wouldn't give her the time of day. And Buffy's always had this thing with Angel. And so to see Willow like have some happiness, I'm like, okay, that's good. We need that. Because she's such a delightful character. Just every time she talks, I'm just like, she's so adorable.
She's precious and she's so relatable. Allison Hannigan is freaking charming. And the way that she just embodies Willow, I mean, everyone can relate with that feeling of insecurity and not quite like feeling comfortable in your body and yourself. And just watching her gain confidence over these past 3 seasons has just been a real joy.
Totally.
Okay, so just generally, what was your overall impression of season 3, specifically in comparison to season 2 and 1?
That's a good question. I really did like it. I think, honestly, if I had to like rate them at this moment, I think season 2 is my favorite.
Really? Okay. Why is that?
So it's a while ago now that I watched season 2, so maybe that's unfair to say.
Right.
But I don't know. I just felt like everything that happened with Buffy and Angel was super interesting and a super big deal. And I just liked watching all of that unfold. And I guess it's the first time things went so much deeper from season 1. I liked season 1. I liked kind of the weird 90s vibes, super quirky. But I think season 2 is where it first went to a whole other level. And I think they did a really good job with that. And the aftermath of Buffy and Angel sleeping together, it was just very well done. I thought the story was very, very well done. I thought this season was good too. Like I said, the Cordelia thing really broke my heart. To see her by the end totally reverting back to her old ways. And the new Watcher really annoyed me, but I loved having, he really annoyed me. By the end, I was like, oh my God. But I really enjoyed the Faith Buffy. I thought that was really good. Kind of like good angel, bad angel. Not, no pun intended with angel, but the idea of, you know, her having to face certain things about her own desires through Faith, but also having to come to terms with her own identity in a way that didn't lose her integrity while she's, you know, being foiled next to this person who's just, by the end, a completely atrocious human being. So I thought that story arc was really interesting. I wasn't sure where it was going to go with Faith. And I had a little more hope for her at the beginning that she was going to be flawed, but that she'd come out the other side. But I thought, again, that foil between Buffy and Faith really made Buffy's character development more interesting. So I liked that as well. I feel like I have a few controversial opinions about Angel and Buffy.
Yes, I wondered if you would.
I do. And I know like you guys like Angel
We
and
love
I
Angel.
do like him. But I also kind of felt, especially in that one episode where you think he's turned bad. And
Enemies,
things change
yes.
a little bit when you realize he hasn't.
Yes.
But in that episode, I was like, I just kind of feel like this is a metaphor for, a toxic relationship that we can't let go of. And it's hard to watch people just spin around in that cycle when you know they really can't. Can they really make it work? When having sex with him will make him lose his soul. Like, is this really like a potential relationship that can work? So I have mixed feelings about that.
No, yeah. And I think I think that to me was what makes the Buffy Angel dynamic so compelling is you have the metaphor and then you have what's actually happening on the surface. So the Buffy Angel metaphor is 100% toxic relationship and going back.
Yeah.
That's what Beauty and the Beast, the episode where they see each other, and that one went hard, where it was like, this is Buffy kind of doing the same thing that Debbie is doing, and that's why you had that shot at the end where you have Angel clinging to Buffy and then it pans down and you see the bodies of the two of them that have destroyed each other, and the foreshadowing is, are they going to destroy each other, so I think that's what makes it really interesting. And then you have Angel, the metaphors for addiction, for alcoholism, for all of that stuff, so like they're there, and I think like it's sometimes hard to like untangle what they're trying to say. Okay, are they actually bad for each other, or is the metaphor trying to show us that and stuff? So yeah. It's all very fascinating and layered.
Totally. And he is a great character and he does always come out on the other side. But it's that hard balance of, but can this work? So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And I think so him leaving at the end of this season, is that when he goes on to make his show?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So are you planning on watching Angel?
I'd like to. I was going to ask you when I should watch it. I will take your tutelage and I will follow. So.
Okay. So it's really up to you how you want to do it. So the first season of Angel, there are a lot of crossovers with Buffy season 4, but tonally the two seasons are very different. And so it is often really hard because think of season 1 of Angel as very similar to season 1 of Buffy. It takes a little bit to get going and to get into it. I personally recommend maybe watching all of Angel season 1 and then watching all of Angel or Buffy season 4 instead of watching them together, because I feel like it's a lot easier to watch it. There'll be crossovers and you might have to be like, wait a minute, and then watch them together. But you'll get the gist of it and stuff like that. Just so you know, Cordelia goes over on Angel. She's no longer on Buffy.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. And Wesley's on Angel.
Okay.
But let me tell you, I don't want that to deter you.
I'll still watch it.
Because Wesley becomes probably, aside from Buffy and Faith, my favorite character in the Buffyverse.
Really? At this moment, I find that
I know and that's why it's so amazing. That's why it's so compelling. Yes.
Okay.
He is a fantastic character. So I honestly think you might actually like Angel better than you like Buffy, but I really recommend it. It takes a few episodes to get going. They were trying to figure out what the tone was they were going for and stuff. So I think it's around like episode 13 of Angel where they kind of like it kicks into gear, but it is fantastic.
I definitely want to watch that one. So you would watch Angel first and then Buffy season 4.
Or you can watch Buffy season 4 first, then Angel season 1. Either one is fine. You can try watching them both together. Like if you want to watch them together, you watch Buffy first, so like episode 1, then Angel episode 1, and then you do it like that back and forth. If you feel like doing it, you maybe start out that way, and if you're like, this is just really hard to get into Angel, and because the tones are so different. But
no, I'm excited. And his name is Wesley, right? I just keep calling him the Watcher. I trust you, but the fact that you're saying he becomes one of your, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, girl, I hated him.
Right now he sucks, right?
Right, no, he totally sucks. He totally sucks.
Okay, I'm interested to see where this goes. Yeah, because right now I'm just like, I can't. When they kissed at the end, I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, totally.
Stupid. Wow, that's okay. I'm very interested to see where this goes. Because, I was just like, I was even like Giles is more attractive than he is.
No,
Like,
totally, 100%.
And I'm not even like a silver foxes kind of person, but I was like,
Right.
Giles has got something going on. What does
Oh,
she
no,
see
he
in this?
totally does. He gets more attractive with every rewatch.
He
That's kind of
does.
like the running joke in the fandom is like you find yourself attracted to Angel and Oz and like all these other, but as you get older, you're like, Joss looking pretty good.
He really is. He's the complete package. He really
Yeah,
is.
he is. So, yes, definitely watch Angel. I would be
Okay.
so excited to hear your thoughts. Maybe we'll like have you come over and tell us your thoughts on the Angel
That'd
podcast.
be so fun. Oh my gosh.
I would
I'm
love
in.
that. So, okay. So this season covered a lot of really heavy themes. I think sometimes even more heavy than what was happening in season 2, or at least they
Definitely.
delved into it a little bit deeper. So like we had addiction, we had suicide, we had school shooting, we had depression, we had throwing off and rejecting toxic authority, abusive relationships. Like that was just some of them. What were your thoughts on how the show handled these issues? And I'm thinking specifically of earshot. Like that, just such a sensitive topic. And as someone who is an
Yeah.
educator.
Yeah. I was going to say that one really like hit different watching because it's such a relevant topic right now in so many ways. And as a teacher and my school alone, we had, I think, 3 bomb threats within like 2 weeks at one
Oh
point,
my goodness.
to the point where we were evacuating, we were locking down. So that stuff is very much at the forefront of my mind right now, and all that goes with it. I thought it was well done. I did think I felt like it was a very quick look at it, obviously. And so
Right.
I feel like I would have liked to have seen more of that unpacked. But I did love the talk that Buffy has with it's Jonathan, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The conversation she has with Jonathan at the end where she says, you know, people don't acknowledge your pain because they're so busy focusing on their own.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like a really powerful quote because it's so true, right? Even what we were talking about with Cordelia being, you know, a bully at different points is a mask for her own pain and own insecurities. And then you've got all these other characters not even seeing what's going on in his world because they're so focused in trying to be okay with their own realities. So I thought that quote was impeccable and really interesting. I liked that they tackled the topic. I did think it was a very quickly done thing,
Sure.
obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that it was neat to see the like supernatural elements behind that for something that we face in the everyday, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't just with earshot. But the whole season I was like, oh my gosh, Jonathan, because he's a big character on another show that I watched.
Is
Gilmore Girls back in the day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Doyle.
Yes.
It's so funny seeing him pop
Yes.
up every once in a while. And then Earshot came and I was like, oh, Doyle, like that's sad. Okay.
Yeah. No, I absolutely, I think that's one of the things that Buffy does really, really well is bringing these like minor characters, not even minor characters, background characters that you just kind of
Yeah.
see in and out of episodes. And then they give them arcs and they flesh them out a little
Totally.
bit more. And so like the moment in the prom when he gives her the umbrella, like that was so powerful because you'd seen him be bullied throughout the past 3 seasons, or really 2, because he wasn't really in season 1. And then, yeah, I mean, that's something that they're going to continue to do for the rest of the series, which is really, really fun.
I really like that. And I feel like they'll take whole like sweeps to the side to focus on one character. And I think it's really neat.
Yeah.
Like when they did that with Xander's episode, I loved how, you know,
The
he's looking for identity
Zeppo,
and they're like, oh,
yeah.
you missed all the action. And to see
Right.
by the end of the episode that he's like, yeah, I missed the action. No longer feels the need to prove himself. I'm like, okay,
Right.
it's so cool to see those characters just have huge spotlights on them and their development for sure.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned how you felt that the events of the season meant that it would take, or the events of season 2 meant that it would take a while for everyone, specifically Buffy, to heal and to move on in this season. Do you think season 3 did a good job with how it addressed and moved past the events of season 2?
I do, because on the one hand, like, and I was actually really grateful that she wasn't off in her runaway town for very long. I was really glad she got back to the others, but I thought it was good in that certain things were like hashed out in the first few episodes.
Right.
but then a lot of things were just continuing to unfold later in the season as well, which is realistic. You know, when
Yeah.
you have a traumatic experience, healing is going to be cyclical. It's not going to be a straight line. And so I liked that it went there. I liked that even though there are elements of it that you're like, oh, are we doing this again? When she's, you know, experiencing Angel potentially going back to his, you know, evil form or whatever, that they have to like keep going through those things throughout the healing process. So I thought that was really realistic, actually. And I
Yeah.
appreciated that for sure.
Totally. Yes, I think that the writers understood that we couldn't just sweep past what happened in season 2. And I think the beauty was they knew from the end of season 2 that Angel was going to be going to his own spinoff. And so they really, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but they really were able to kind of integrate his storyline through the season and give him a really good organic send-off and let that kind of help with Buffy's growth and healing and all the other characters as well.
Totally.
So Leah and Tabby are not here tonight. They have some other things they have to do, but Leah sent in a question that she wanted me to ask you. She said, what do you think, or what were she wanted to say your full thoughts on Faith, and do you think we're going to see her again?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Faith, I had very mixed feelings about the whole time. And like I said, I had hopes that she would get better, but then, and I was like, okay, we're not here to get better. I can't get over how she went to help the other side when her whole purpose is to be a slayer.
Sure.
I found that so interesting because like, what's the point of her abilities and her gifts? But at the same time, I thought those episodes where she obviously took it too far, but those episodes where she's like really enjoying being a slayer and Buffy is just like another day at the office. You know?
Right.
I thought was really interesting because that's true in life as well. You can have a really important vocation and it can be serious and it can matter, but you can still have fun with it. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're doing a bad job. Sometimes it means you're doing a better job. You know, when I have fun with my students, it's more powerful than when I'm like, it's life or death every day, people, even though sometimes it is. So I thought that was really interesting to see her kind of pull that out of Buffy. And Buffy have to wrestle with herself taking things too far, and where she stood on things. So I thought that was really interesting. Will we see her again? My first thought is no, but the show has taught me that death doesn't mean a thing.
Yeah.
In this world. So, to the point where sometimes I'm just like, it almost, you're like, but are you coming back? You know what I mean? Like, which sometimes I'm like, I don't know how to feel about that because I don't know if you're coming back. So, will we see her again? I really don't know. My initial gut thought is no, but I could very well be wrong.
Well, just so you know, she's not dead. She's in a coma.
Okay. Oh, she's in a coma. That's right. Mm-hmm. Okay. At the end.
Yeah.
All right.
They killed off Jenny Calendar and she hasn't come back. So.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just Angel, really, I think. Well, Buffy, I guess, the first season, but yeah, there are exceptions.
And I guess Jenny was just like his thoughts coming back. So
yeah,
we did. But I just feel like we keep seeing these people again.
Right? No,
so
sure,
part of
totally.
Me just, like, I was thinking she died at the end. So bad watcher.
No, it's all good. No, she's in a coma. So yeah,
she's in a coma. So I feel like they don't just let things die. So I feel like we're gonna see her again.
Do you feel like she has more to tell, like more of her story? Or do you feel like it's a pretty satisfactory ending for her?
You know, I loved Willow's speech to her, where she's just like, yeah, you had a really hard life, but you know what? At a certain point, you have to suck it up. Yeah. And I really like that because she did have so many chances to be redeemed. And yet she chose darkness. So on that hand, I think it was satisfying. On the other hand, I think she's such an interesting character that they could do more with her because even her background, I feel like it wasn't completely hashed out. There's a lot of gray space there that I think if there's one thing this show can do, it can take somebody that you're just like, oh, whatever, and then just completely rip that apart and show you something new. So I think that I have no doubt they could do something with that. Okay. Yeah. I also felt it was funny because when she was like, we need a blood of a slayer, I was like, I don't feel bad about that. Like, this girl is good girl.
Fair.
But then at the same time, for Buffy, I was like, that's a moral dilemma. Like, yes, she's a problem, but that was a big deal. Her trying to kill her and then, her losing her and it not even working. I kept thinking, man, like, that's a big deal what she just did.
Oh, it totally is.
And I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't come back to the moral implications of her, just being like, we're taking your life. Especially because Angel is like a good character, but in the world for what she's supposed to be doing to kill another human being to save it, so I think they could definitely.
Is she just a regular human being? She is a slayer. She has supernatural power. So it's like It gets really great because it's like, Buffy has a strong moral code, but then it's like at some point, and my brother David actually brought it up. He was like, at some point, like, we all recognize there are some people that just don't get to be in this world anymore because of the decisions and choices that they have made.
Yeah.
And so has Faith crossed that line to that point? And so it makes for a really interesting discussion. I personally feel like the show, I keep saying this, but I feel like the show pulled their punches a little bit in the sense that they didn't actually like, okay, like, is Buffy going to follow through? Would she have taken Faith to Angel? Would she have been able to go through with that? But at the same time, I don't know that that's necessarily the story it was trying to tell, because on the metaphorical side, it was Faith is supposed to be Buffy's shadow side, and it's supposed to be like the simulation of the two. So it was more of a metaphorical thing. But at the same time, she still went through with it and just stabbed her without even thinking about it. So it's like, I feel like she was like going to go through with it. So
yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
I think circumstance just took that away from her.
Yeah, sure. I agree. All right. So let's talk about Angel for a minute.
Okay.
The last time we talked, you had predicted it was going to be a while till we saw him. You also said you felt like it was going to be really hard to unsee Angelus after like everything that happened in season 2. How did you feel? Like, first of all, were you surprised they brought him back so soon? And then what were your thoughts on his development for the season? Because I feel like they really fleshed him out a little bit more.
They did. I was surprised to see him sooner because I did feel like there was kind of a pattern emerging where it was like, okay, this will be later on. So I was a little surprised they didn't make us wait for that. However, they did so much with his character and Buffy's character that I thought it was good that they had time to hash that out. He too is a charming character where it's like, yeah, you can't unsee what he did, but also you're like, oh, like, you're good now and you're very charming and you've got great hair. Like, not to be shallow about it. But I do feel like, just like we're supposed to feel that draw that Buffy has to him. And so I feel like, I feel like she kind of let him in a little too soon personally, because like one minute he's like grunting chained to the wall trying to like eat you, and the next so I thought that was quick. However, it makes sense that for her it would be difficult for her to not get drawn in. I thought it was really good how they portrayed like her friends' reactions to him though, because when you stop and you realize like everything that he did was really awful. And that even if he changes or she chooses to forgive him, just like you were saying with Faith, there's certain things in life you can't undo. And there's still implications for what he did in the last season, which is the tragic thing about his character is that he may be good now, but weighing the ability that he has to destroy against the ability that he has to do good. And I think that's a profound question. At what point do you allow people to believe that they'll do what's right with their abilities? And at what point do you proactively make sure they're not allowed to harm?
Right. No, and that's actually the question that is most compelling for going into the series of Angel is his life actually worth it to keep around? Like, can he actually do more good than all the bad that he has caused in the past? Like, is he more of a liability than an asset, essentially? So yeah, no, and I think that's what makes him really interesting, because you see him desiring to do good and like actually feeling guilty and weighing himself down because of all the bad he has done and desiring to move forward from that. But then it's like, okay, Angel, like, can you actually undo what you've done, or at least like make
Yeah,
amends with it and stuff. So yeah, he's actually,
absolutely.
I think he's a super compelling character.
I'm excited for Angel. I'm really excited for the series. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah. You're like, get me out of the teenage years. No.
No, I totally don't mind it. I think there's something like we grew up on these shows where they're all
Right.
in high school. There's
Right.
something so like, oh, like nostalgic about it. So
Yeah.
I'm not mad about that at all, but I am excited for that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And to hear these other characters that you said are going over to
Hmm.
that'll be really interesting.
I mean,
I think
Cordelia and Angel, like night and day right there, which I think it
yeah,
just makes for a really fun dynamic.
absolutely. She's one of those characters you hate her. Like I hate everything she stands for, and yet I don't hate her.
Right.
And I think they really flesh her out really well in that you can see there's a lot more there
Yeah.
that most people aren't seeing about her. So again, that's why she was so heartbreaking. So I'm very excited to see where she goes
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that series. That'll be interesting.
Okay. So I think you kind of answered this already, but you talked about how Willow was your favorite character last season. Is she still your favorite character for this season?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Did the Xander affair make you totally hate her?
And I so I have mixed feelings about that too, because on the one hand I'm just like, if you're not happy with your current situation, like figure it out and fix it. Don't cheat on your partner.
Right.
So I'm like very unsympathetic in that way. But on the other hand, life is very messy and being a human is very messy. And love is very messy. And especially when you're in high school. And they've been through so much together. And so I think that in that sense, like that's a relatable situation. It's
For sure.
understandable. It definitely didn't ruin her or him for me. It annoyed me for sure. But I also think it was developing their characters as well. Like really good characters can make bad choices, and that's part of what it is to be human. It doesn't
Right.
define your entire existence. So I still really do like her. I have to say the alternate reality Willow is
Vamp
like
Willow, yes.
I kind of love her and I kind
Yes.
of hate her too.
Right.
But it's kind of fun to see that other side of Willow.
Mhm.
And it's fun when they they're kind of like at odds with each other to figure out like what's it going to be. When she's going through her identity crisis of I'm always the dependable one, I'm always this. But I still do just love her. Like she's so relatable. I was watching some of the episodes with my mom and it was funny. She's like, I just love like her voice. Every time she talks, she's just like so cute. The things she says, and the lines that she has. Her and Buffy are really good at those one-liners where you're just like, that's adorable. So she's still a favorite, I would say. Yeah,
Okay.
she's probably still the favorite.
Well, it's nice to know that like you kind of have, I feel like, a good love for all of the characters. I mean, you can
Yeah,
definitely have a favorite and stuff, but I think a show that is going to stick around longer in your mind is one where you feel a connection to more than one character than just
totally.
one. Because I've watched shows where I'm like, okay, I'm just invested in this one character, but then they do something that pisses you off and you're like, why am I even
Yeah,
watching this anymore? So I think it's good
totally,
to kind of like be balanced out by appreciating all of them,
totally.
So
And I think it helped too that Willow, like and Xander, they made a mistake, but she felt so bad about it,
yeah.
which I think is very human. Like the confliction of like, I'm a terrible person kind of made the point that she's not a terrible person. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
right.
she's a flawed person. She's a
Mhm.
regular human being, but I think that's the kind of thing that she's going to grow from. Because she felt sorry for it and because she didn't really want to hurt other people. So that's the kind of thing I feel like I'm not going to make that same mistake twice.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest themes of the season was responsibility. And like we chose the word choices to be kind of our
Mhm.
big theme for this season. It's like we all make choices in life. It's are we going to accept responsibility and the consequences of those
Totally.
choices? And so they really kind of delved into that with shadow selves, like Doppelgangland with Willow. You had Vamp Willow was supposed to be kind of the shadow side of Willow, and the Zeppo, you have Xander, like constantly showing these different aspects inside. And then obviously Faith is the biggest metaphor for
Mhm.
Buffy. And so it was really interesting to watch them contrast and be like, this is what you could choose to be.
Yeah.
And this is what would happen if you were not taking responsibility for who you are and stuff. So I felt like it was just a perfect season for senior year. because
Yeah.
that's what being an adult is. It's taking responsibility for your crap,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I thought it was such a good way to end the season going into season 4 because like it's a huge transition naturally. So high school is over. And like you said, now Angel's splitting off. Now other characters are going over there. So it'll be interesting to see how even sometimes that switch from high school to like college. Some shows don't make it because they aren't
Yeah.
able to have everybody in one place. I can't remember what show it was, but I remember one show they skipped. Oh, it was One Tree Hill. They skipped the 4 years so they wouldn't have to deal with all of our
It's
main
hard.
characters don't live in the same place.
Right.
So I think it's going to be cool to see where that natural transition kind of takes the shows.
Totally. And the girls and I have talked about how we feel like on shows, whether it's a teen show or not, we feel like season 4 is really a transition. The show kind of has to break with its format, and it will
Yeah,
the show's either fizzle out after that or they come back stronger and stuff. And so just
totally.
like moving on with season 4 is just so you're prepared. I feel like it has some of the strongest episodes of the
Oh, wow.
series, but it also has the weakest overall storyline.
Interesting.
But power through because it gets so good, and I'm so excited to hear your thoughts at the end of season 4.
I'm excited too.
But before we get there, okay, so I just have one. Well, I have a couple more questions, but like one
Okay.
big one. So there's a particular scene that happens in the last episode of the
Okay.
season, and it's between Faith and Buffy, and it's a dream sequence. Do you remember this?
So I remember the scene and I remember thinking, this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it means yet,
Okay.
but I feel
Okay.
like it's going to be important. Like I definitely, as I was watching, I was like, is this the future or
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this
yeah.
the past
Right.
or is this
Right.
or a combination?
Yeah.
So I definitely feel like that's going to be important.
Yes.
And you asking me the question tells me it's going to be important.
Yeah. No, it's nothing.
But I did think that when I watched it, I was like, I feel like is this some accumulation of past memories jumbled up, or is this the future? So I am
Yeah.
curious. I actually now I want to go back and rewatch the scene and see if I
Just
can
watch.
get my
Yeah, no, definitely. There's also a moment in the episode The Prom, two episodes before. Giles is like, "Hey Buffy, like we need to focus, and Buffy's like, yeah, miles to go, Giles." She goes, "Miles to go before we sleep, Giles." And then she says something, and then she's like, "One night of glory is all we ask." And so then in this scene with Faith and Buffy, Faith says, "Miles to go, Little Miss Muffet counting down from 730."
Oh.
It's referring to a Robert Frost poem.
Oh, okay.
That's just kind of a little hint.
Can I go back then?
So I know you're gonna have to go back and watch
Robert
it. So
Frost.
you're looking up the Robert Frost poem.
I totally am. And I'm writing down 730.
Yeah.
Little Miss Muffet. Miles to go. Okay. I do love that about the show, how like you can tell, even if you're just watching the story for the first time, you're like, okay, I'm following the story, but you know, like it's all gonna be used again and it's
Right.
all critical. And I do really like that about the series. Okay, so
Yes.
all right.
All right. So do you have a particular favorite episode or moment from this season? One that just like really stood out to you, if you can remember them all.
I know. I feel like when I'm watching, I'm like, oh, this is it, you know?
Right,
and then
right.
like, I'm like, oh, when you go back and see the whole story, I have to say, I found, I'm trying to find the name of the episode, but I found the one where, oh, it was Earshot. I loved her being able to hear everybody's thoughts. Because I've always found that fascinating. The idea of like, if I've always thought like that'd be the most interesting superhero power was to be able to read minds, but also the most disturbing because you don't necessarily want to know. But I also thought it's really interesting in connection to what you were talking about with the idea of choice, because, you know, Giles even says when they're in the library, we're all going to think the things right now that we don't want Buffy to hear us think because now the pressure is on. And I was thinking a lot as I was watching that episode about how powerful thoughts are and yet how they don't determine someone's identity or who they are. Their choices do. So people have crazy thoughts all the time, but It's what they choose to do with them. So I thought that was a really interesting episode, and I liked that one. That might be kind of random, but I just think hearing other people's thoughts is an interesting concept. I also have to say that I know Giles and her mom had their moment.
Oh yeah.
But also, I was like, even before we found out that I was like, I really want them to get together. Like, he's already her father figure.
Yeah, no, it's too perfect, right?
It's too perfect. He's adorable.
He was hot in Band Candy too. Like him and Joyce together, so fun.
So cute. So I'm hoping, I'm like, I want that to happen, and their world is such like an isolating one because not everybody knows about everything going on. So I feel like that would be good. I wouldn't say that I loved, I've always had kind of a love-hate relationship with Xander because he is infuriating, but I also,
as do we all,
love him. But I liked I didn't enjoy every aspect of his episode.
Sure.
But I did love how he started out like, and we saw this a little bit more in season 2, I think it was as well, where he started out really insecure about his identity and needing to prove it. And then by the end, it's like, I know who I am. I'm comfortable with the fact that I know what I did.
Right.
And I love every time that we get to either see Xander go on this journey or Willow go on this journey, that they become a little bit more evolved as a character. They're not perfect, which is realistic because people go through things, they come out the other side and they're a little stronger, and then they go through something else that kind of builds up the same thing. But I love that by the end, like, he totally stopped this whole bad situation from happening, and he doesn't feel the need to take the credit for it. He doesn't feel the need to be like, hey guys, where do I belong? He just kind of accepts, like, this is who I am. These are the choices I'm making. And I feel good enough with that. And I feel like life is like that. As a human being, you have to be okay knowing that what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing, because people aren't going to sit around praising you for it all the time. So I liked that.
Those are great. And I love that you're giving Xander, like, highlighting his moments, because I feel like there's a lot of Xander hatred right now in the fandom, which some of it is very much deserved. He's a little hard sometimes to watch and appreciate, but I think that there is stuff to appreciate about him. And the Zeppo, his episode is just phenomenal. And I feel like we do see a positive change in him after that. He's not perfect, but I do see growth.
I thought that reminded me that scene where Faith basically sexually assaults him.
Yes.
And I'm calling it that because that's what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I thought that was a really powerful narratively as well, because the show was made more than 20 years ago.
Right.
And you're looking at the idea of the ignorance that still exists around sexual assault, but usually we see it as like only happens to women. And that scene is very much him being taken advantage of. And I thought that was really powerful. And also like very upsetting to watch, like they did a really good job with the severity of like, this is really, really icky, to see him being taken advantage of, especially after he's reaching out, trying to help this person, who he actually cares about, who's just using him.
Well, and I love him when him and Faith have sex, that he's desiring intimacy. And that's something I've always said about Xander, is for all his talk about sex, like, I just want sex. And you'd think he'd be the one be like, oh, I just want a casual fling or whatever. What I think he's deep down craving is connection with someone. And like he uses his obsession, I say in quotes, with sex as it's like humor as his shield. And what he really wants is just someone who cares about him genuinely. You see glimpses of how toxic his parenting life is, or his life with his parents is. And so him having sex with Faith, you can see in his mind immediately, we had a connection. He says that multiple times. So he thinks, I can go talk to her, and Faith's not thinking of it at all. And so I liked they kind of were subversive in showing that just because he quote unquote thinks about sex all the time doesn't mean he wants it all the time. And him saying no, like it was very powerful.
Absolutely. Well, and even, right after when she basically kicks him out of the house, you can see, and again, it's subversive because we usually see the woman who's not allowed to sleep over, you know?
Right.
But like, you can tell, like, he had a good experience, but he also, that's not what he wanted the experience
Right.
to be.
Right.
And I've always felt that way about him, that yes, he has some of these toxic traits. However, look at the women that he does love in his life. Look at Buffy. He loves these strong women and he really does want to connect to them. And he really wants to establish like that he brings something to their world, which I think is, you know, very human. Who doesn't want that? Also, again, I just love the subversion of that stereotype as well. I was talking to a male friend one time, and he was talking about an experience he had at a strip club. And and this friend, he's like, oh, I hate strip clubs. Like it was awful. And he said, I realize though why men like strip clubs. And he's like, it's not what people think. It's that you walk around and women come over and put their arms around you and say, how was your day?
Like you're
like, how are you
seen.
doing? And it's this like connection, right? It's like they feel isolated and lonely and people are taking time to care about them. I thought that was so interesting because that's not what I think of when I think about men going to a strip club.
Right.
But for most people, you know, sex is intimacy. It is connection.
Totally.
And we sometimes stereotype, you know, horny men unfairly, and just say that it's horniness when it's usually not. So yeah, I loved that about Xander. And yeah, again, the Willow thing, I was really mixed because I was like, I kind of want them to be together.
Right.
Because, you know, they're so cute, but like, I was like, this is not the way.
Right. Right. And unfortunately, it feels like the door is pretty shut because they kind of burned that bridge. I mean, we'll see in the future, but it's just interesting that I feel like they could have done a will they, won't they for the rest of the series. And then they decided to give it to you, but not the way you wanted it.
Yes. Which I also appreciate though, because it's not a typical arc for the best friend relationship like that. Normally it's like, oh, they don't see each other that way. And then, oh, they do. And so that wasn't an arc I would have expected for them.
Yeah.
But I'm also glad that it pissed me off again because I'm like, she was into you before. Couldn't you get a clue then? But I appreciated that finally he was like seeing her after all this time as well.
Yeah.
These kids.
I know. It's just relatable. I mean, we were talking on the podcast. It's the same episode that Faith tries to sexually assault Xander. And you have Willow crying in the bathroom when she finds out that they slept together. And when talking with Tabby and Leah, and from a lot of people, their perspective of it is, Willow, grow up. Like, what, you shouldn't be crying over him. You're in a relationship. Like, if you want Xander, then go with Xander and stop. Like, I mean, I see an aspect of that. But for me personally, like you said, relationships and people are messy. And I think that is probably the single most relatable Willow moment for me is her. Who hasn't cried in the bathroom? I mean, I find that so compelling that we know in our head and in our heart that like, or our head that we should be moving on to someone else. No, we do. Like, she fully loves Oz. She's committed, but there's still that aspect of like recognizing that's truly the end and that they are moving on to someone else. And I don't know. It's just, I feel like that's such a great
absolutely.
moment.
And it's before, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's before she and Oz are together in that way too.
Yes. Yeah.
There's also that, I think, especially at that age,
I'm left behind. Everybody else is having sex but me.
That comparison of like, okay, and it's her best friend who she's faced most experiences with. You look at that scene where they start to see each other different when they're trying on the prom stuff. Yes. And they're also talking about all that they've been through together. And so there's that element of like, this isn't something we're sharing. I'm not doing this with him. And I'm also not doing this on my own. I liked that scene as well. You know, it's, and she's watched him kind of go in all these other directions from her. But I thought that was really human. And even not to give any sort of credit to like, emotional infidelity, because that's a problem. I mean, human beings do have complicated feelings. You know, you can love somebody and you can mourn a loss of something else, right? Mm-hmm. You made one choice, but there's also something else you're not going to experience because of that choice. Right. Totally. And I think that's just what it is to be a human being in this world. So Yeah, so that I agree with you. I think that was just like, oh, totally. Like she's feeling this some kind of way about this, and she's not making a big deal. She's not going around trying to ruin things,
Oh,
but
yeah.
she's allowed to have her moment. And I like that we got to
Right.
see her have that moment.
Totally. Okay. So the last thing is, what are your predictions for season 4?
Okay. This is always so
You knew it
scary.
was
But
coming. You knew it was coming.
I did. I'm kind of really proud of myself though, because I had forgotten what my predictions were for last
You
season,
did
and a
well.
lot of them were right. I also
Yeah.
feel a little bit like it's the Magic 8 Ball. I was vague enough that, of course.
Yeah, that's true. No, but
I,
like some of them, when you're like, you thought Buffy like was really going to make her role as a Slayer her own. Like I was like, that was pretty impressive, you know?
yeah, so that worked out. So yeah, so let's see. Okay, so we're splitting off from high school. So, but
Mhm.
now we know that Willow and Buffy are staying in the same area, at least as of
Mhm.
the last episode. Um, I do think there will be more exploration with identity in this new realm, right? Because high school is what they knew. It's where they all
Mhm.
met, or at least where Buffy and Willow and all of them met. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see them transfer that
Mhm.
to college. And I don't remember, is Xander going to the same college?
He is not going to college.
Okay. So it'll be interesting to see how their arc continues with everybody in different places.
Mhm.
Um, so now I do know, and this is I did not expect this, that Cordelia is going to be in Angel Town, so she's
Yep,
not even
she's
going to
gone.
be.
Yep.
So that's interesting, but I'm glad she's not just going away; she's going somewhere else. So I think that that'll be a big thing of them exploring how this all works in a different context, as college students, as people that aren't all trapped in the same place for 8 hours a day. So I think that'll be a big deal. Now that Buffy doesn't need a watcher, I think that will also be interesting because um, the kid gloves have really been taken off in every way. She's made slaying her own, and yet she always had Giles there to guide her. And I don't think Giles is going anywhere, at least I hope not. But but I think that will be an important exploration of like what those kinds of relationships look like and what it will look like with more responsibility on her shoulders, without having somebody, guiding her in that way. Um, Angel's going away for now. I don't anticipate that they won't be. I know how this works, so they'll be back. I get the feeling from the little that I do know that there may be a longer. And I said this last time and I was wrong, so probably not. But I do kind of feel like since they made such a big production of him leaving, and I think that there's going to be more separation this season. I think it's always going to come back to Angel and Buffy, but I think there will be more big silences there. So I'm curious to see how she chooses to handle that. If she tries to explore, like if she tries to open up her heart to other options, or if for her it's just going to be like, that's not a part of my reality. So that'll be interesting. I am expecting that Faith is coming back in some form now.
Okay.
So what that will look like, I'm not sure about, but
Okay.
that will be
Okay.
interesting. I do kind of feel like because the show does take who the character is, and I appreciate this about it because sometimes when you watch a show and then you watch 2 seasons later, you're like, they completely changed this character, but
Yes.
there's no
Mhm.
reason they changed. They just
Right.
decided they're a different character. And I like that the show like that grows the characters, but they're always themselves and they always kind of go through
100%.
struggles that you've kind of seen them struggle through before.
Yeah.
But I do kind of expect, I think, along with the Faith thing I think Buffy's going to still kind of like struggle between that darker side and that light side of like what her identity looks like. And since this is no longer for the first season, she's like, okay, I guess I have to do this, but I'm not going to really own it. Second season, a little more like, okay, this is who I am. I have to own it. Third season, fully coming into her own, even starting to enjoy it a little bit, but also having to battle, her darker impulses. I think this season is going to be even more like, now I'm an adult. This is my whole life. This isn't going away. What does that look like to combine like joy in my work, fulfillment in my work, but also not being too careless with it. So I think that's going to still be a thing.
I think those are good predictions.
Those are my predictions.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I got some of them right last
You
time
did.
watching. None of these are going to be anywhere ever again.
I'm excited to hear your thoughts in season 4. Again, it's a season of transition. You have Angel and Cordelia, 2 major cast members that are no longer there. They're not doing the whole high school as hell metaphor anymore. So like, just be patient with it. It finds its footing. But again, it has some of the best like single episodes in the series. It's got, honestly, it's got some of the best episodes and the worst episodes in the season. It's very like highs and lows, but there's some phenomenal arcs and stuff.
I'm also going to anticipate, since we're losing some characters, that I'm going to anticipate that there will be other big players coming into view. Because I know even from things I had just seen, like I know certain actors and actresses that I'm like, oh, they were on this show. So I do anticipate that this season, 1 or 2 of them will definitely show up as important, since we're losing Cordelia. And she really did finish out that circle of people. So I anticipate we're going to get some more characters like that to fill those holes too.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I'm excited.
I'm really excited. It's going to be fun. So, all right. Well, that's all I have for you, Liz. Man.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were thorough. That was good.
We were.
I remember like season 1, I was like, I mean, there's stuff to talk about, but it's like, we haven't really gotten to the meat of things now. I feel like now having a couple seasons under our belt, it's fun to kind of talk about where things have come from and stuff. So yeah, thanks so much for doing this. This is like seriously like the highlight of doing this. It's fun.
It's really like a fun little treat for me. So I appreciate you having me back on and
absolutely
getting to do this. It's always fun.
Yeah, totally. And then for you guys listeners, you can find Liz at Literati in La La Land. Did I say that right?
You did.
Oh, sweet. Cool. Been practicing. And you guys can also check out, we have our first Investigating Angel episode that dropped today. We call it our episode 0. It kind of gives an overview into the thoughts and why they decided to create the show Angel, kind of talking a little bit about the actors they selected, the backstory of like, the different cast and crew. And then we also have some fun little nuggets that I think you guys will be really excited about. So definitely check that out. And yeah, Liz, I'm excited to see you at the end of next year.
Thank you. I'll see you then.
As always, guys, you can find us on Instagram, on TikTok, on Tumblr at Becoming Buffy Podcast. You can email us at becomingbuffypodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out Investigating Angel for our first episode that drops today. See you guys next time.